So all individuals who have a chronic illness or an autoimmune disease have illness identity syndrome, because all individuals on some level don't want to get better. And this is because of the self-identity our illness creates. The self-identity. So what is a self-identity? A self-identity is really this lens that we see and perceive our whole world through, including ourselves. It truly is what defines us. It's through this lens of our self-identity, it determines the choices and decisions we make, what we do and don't do, and it really is the complete driving force and perspective of our whole life, in addition to how we identify ourselves. So with illness identity syndrome, our lens is our illness. It's how we see and perceive our whole world through. And please know I'm speaking about this from my whole experience. That's where I pulled all that I'm sharing with you today. And this lens is, I am a sick person. I'm a person who has an illness or a disease, and I will have it for the rest of my life. This lens of illness is my experience of life is different than and harder than other people, those healthy people. And it also makes me special in life. As a sick person, I am also can find myself in competition with other sick people, who has it worse, who's allergic to more foods, who has a rare diagnosis or more diagnoses, or who's trying the newest modality or food diet. So with this self-identity, this illness identity syndrome, I filter my choices and through my illness, and I also through its limitations. So my illness dictates the exercise or recreation that I do or I can't do. It dictates my traveling. Is this a place I can go? Will I be able to handle it with my illness? It dictates the events I attend. Are these things I can do? Will I have the energy? Will they have the food that I need? And it also dictates our work. If we are working, we often choose very easy jobs because of our illness. Or like myself, I actually quit working because my illness I was so tired and it was just all consuming all of my appointments. It determines the restaurants we eat at. We plan our whole days through it. I know for me, the foods I had to buy, the foods I had to cook, the appointments I had to go to. And it also sadly determines our future plans, what I can and can't do, who I may be or may not be, all through the lens of our illness. Now, our illness as a self-identity also becomes our greatest excuse. If I don't want to do things, I don't have to because I have my illness. I can get out of school, which I did, events, any kinds of commitments that I have, or new things that scare me. My illness is the reason why I don't do them, such as perhaps dating. Now, my illness gives me my purpose in life. So my illness gives me something to focus on, and it gets a distraction from the rest of our lives. And oftentimes that next step that we have to take in our life, whether that is someone who's just graduated university and they're out there in the real world, whether that's a mother who's an empty nester and her children have left and she's not sure what to do next, or a gentleman who just retired and his whole life has changed, or maybe it's someone who went through a divorce and they're in that in-between place. The illness gives us purpose that we didn't have before. It fills our days researching, making the special foods, buying or researching the supplements and the medications. And also, as I've shared, going to appointments with our doctors and our practitioners. For me, that just filled up my schedule. And sadly, the meetings I had, the appointments I had with practitioners and doctors and nurses and pharmacists, it actually became my social outlet in my day-to-day life, interacting with these people that were kind of revolving and rotating around my illness and me being a sick person. It also gave me something to work towards, pretending to heal. And we'll talk more about this in a moment. So again, this is how it is our purpose. But the problem is that we don't really want to heal because, this is another elephant in the room, we get so much attention from our illnesses that we really don't want to give them up. And I'm honest, the illness made me different. It made me special. And we get noticed in a way that many of us have never been noticed. Most of us have felt unnoticed in our lives. And suddenly we're being noticed by these well-known doctors, by family members, especially our mothers, by friends, by our partners or spouses. And we get extra care, extra consideration. We get catered to, quite frankly. Events get planned around us. The food that gets made at events gets to be filtered through us and our food allergies or food sensitivities, and we get off the hook. Again, it's that ironclad excuse. If I didn't want to work that day or wanted to leave early from work, absolutely I could, and no one would question it. And so what it all creates is a life, and those in our life that really revolve and rotate around our illnesses and us being a sick person. Now, interestingly, illness identity syndrome, this is affecting not just that identified patient, the identified sick person, but it also usually encapsulates another individual in that sick orbit, that illness orbit. And if the individual that's sick is between the ages of about birth and in their 30s, that individual that gets in the orbit is going to be their mother. So we're going to talk about the kind of untalked about role that mothers play when their child has an illness, fitting into illness identity syndrome. So when a mother has a child that is sick, the child's illness also becomes the life purpose and identity of the mother. It gives that mother something to actively do and work towards. For that mother, their child being sick and fills in the gaps of their day, fills in the gaps of their thoughts. It becomes a distraction from their life, from their marriage. Now, and what that looks like is this is a mother, she's researching, she's making appointments for her child, driving the kid to appointments. This was my mom, engaged in the message boards online, emotionally supporting that sick child as a shoulder to lean on and, to cry to, buying their supplements often, making the special foods or buying those, and oftentimes paying for the medications and their full treatment protocols. Now, what having a child that is sick allows for that mother, especially in like my case, I was out of the house. It allows the mom to really be a mom and feel needed, or to be a mom again, right? Because I was in my 20s, so I wasn't a child anymore, but my mom could be a mom again. Suddenly that mother feels very needed. And also that mom can get attention and gets attention from others for having a child that is sick, a child with an incurable illness. And the last part here is what that illness also creates is an opportunity for that mother and that child to bond. I know for myself and my mom in my 20s, me being sick, and it brought us together, the quest of me being a sick person and going to my appointments together, buying the foods, crying to her on the phone. It was a way for us to bond in a way that we didn't when I was a rebellious teenager. So this is what the lens of the self-identity really is, of this illness identity syndrome. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch today. If you have an autoimmune disease or chronic illness, are frustrated with medications, supplements, or food diets, and are ready to start the journey to finally and permanently healing your condition, I have 2 13-week online self-guided educational programs, the Autoimmune Healing Program and the Chronic Illness Healing Program. Both programs teach you how to permanently heal your autoimmune disease or chronic illness, leave behind those doctor's visits and symptom management, and to finally heal without supplements, medication, or food diets. This is the same journey I took and why I am over 10 years completely healthy. All 8 of my autoimmune diseases and chronic illnesses are permanently gone. You can find the link to apply for a complimentary course consultation with me down in the description below. And if you're not ready to take this step, watch my free 101 course on autoimmune diseases and chronic illnesses. You'll also find the link to watch this down in the description. And again, thank you so much for taking the time to watch today. I look forward to you permanently healing your autoimmune disease or chronic illness.